Hello, class. My name is Peter McDonald, and I have the joy and the privilege of being the professor for Biblical Counseling 401 online and 402 online here at Fruitland Baptist Bible College. What a joy it is to be able to be with you today and to encourage you in your ministry during this next couple of quarters. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I believe with all my heart that biblical counseling is a course that will help to shape and mold your ministry efforts and your disciple making, your gospel sharing, but also your counseling skills for ministry ahead. This class is designed to encourage you and to teach you the ways and the methodologies and the history of biblical counseling. And so what I'm doing here with this introduction video is just giving you an overview of the course, letting you know about all the fun we're going to have together this quarter, what you can expect, also along the way, what we're going to learn together. So just as a way of introduction, like I said, my name is Peter McDonald, and I am a minister in Pittsboro, North Carolina. I am the pastor at Pittsboro Baptist Church. Our family moved here in 2021. Before that time, though, we served for almost 15 years in the western part of North Carolina in several churches with youth ministry, associate pastor work. But my most recent was a 10-year stay at Midway Baptist Church in Columbus, and so that's my connection to the mountains of North Carolina, which leads to my story with Fruitland Baptist Bible College. I'm a graduate or an alumnus of Fruitland Baptist Bible College. I received my AA there in 2009. From there, I went to North Greenville University, where I received my Bachelor's of Arts in Christian Studies, and then I went from North Greenville to Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. You know it as Liberty University. I received my Master's of Arts in Religion with a focus on pre-pastoral ministries in 2014. There was just a couple of years of hiatus, and then I began doing some PhD work. I did 4 years of PhD work with Carolina University before transferring over to Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, where I'm finishing up my Doctor of Ministry degree with them. My hopes is to graduate by the end of next year. So September 2023, I should have my dissertation, my defense for my project, and I plan to walk and graduate in December of 2023. So please pray for me. I have a wife. Her name is Tara. We've been married for 15 years this December. I have two boys, Micah and Malachi. Micah's 11 years old. He is our social piano playing, cross country running, and I really hope because of his size, I'm really hoping he does basketball this year. So we have Micah, who's 11. We have Malachi, who's 8. Malachi is definitely the athlete in the bunch. He loves to play sports. Right now he's doing fall baseball. He's fixing to transition into basketball, and he's got all eyes set on next year doing some football in the fall. So Mally is 8. They both go to a Christian school here in Pittsboro, and we're enjoying life here. We've been here about 10 months, starting here with this church. And God is certainly blessing our time together so far. So I'm across the state, as well as many of you might be, or across the country. So that's the joy of being able to do online school. My relationship with Fruitland went beyond the classroom. I served a term with the board of directors for Fruitland Baptist Bible College before coming on staff there in 2015. And while I was living in Western North Carolina, I was the professor of youth ministry and also biblical counseling on campus. And then when God called us away, it was a little too far for us to be able to make that commute to Fruitland each week, sadly. But here we are a year later, and we're back at it. So I'm excited to be still a part with the ministry here at Fruitland Baptist Bible College. I love everything that they're about. I support and just love how God is using this school to impact the world for Jesus Christ. And so it is not by chance that you're here. I'm very excited that we get to have this quarter together. And so I want to take some time now to introduce what the syllabus, what we're going to be doing through this quarter, how the quarter is going to work, what you can expect. We're going to talk about everything from the books that we're going to read to the assignments we're going to have, also the lesson content. So hope that you'll enjoy this introduction video. I'm using Zoom as my platform for video because they have a really cool share screen option. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the syllabus. All right. I hope that you're able to see it. If you're not able to see it, I can see it, and I'll talk with you through it. So everyone has access to the syllabus. It's on the student portal. You'll be able to download it, print it, whatever you want to do with it. But this is your guide, okay, for having a successful quarter for 401 Biblical Counseling. So as you see, you have our purpose statement for the school. Our greatest joy is preparing students to make a difference for Christ as we equip the next generation of Christian leadership. This is the dates for our class. Our class begins today, September 27th. It's going to go through December 5th. We're using online and we're using Zoom as our means of learning. So that's advantageous to your schedule, and I hope that you'll enjoy that. We're also in the fall of 2022, just making sure that you're in the right course. And here's the instructor information. This is my contact. Actually, as we're talking, I'm gonna make an adjustment here. That is not my phone number. Have no idea why it's listed that way. But my contact info is there. There's my email, petermcdonald@fruitland.edu. There's my phone number. That's my personal cell. You can call, text, however you want to communicate with me. I also have my ministry assistant. Her name's Pam Rommel. She's here at the church, and so if you aren't able to reach me for any reason, you can call her, or you can email her. She'll forward me any questions that you may have. Okay, so we're talking about the course description. Biblical Counseling Online explores the history and biblical foundation for biblical counseling, along with various methods of counseling. So I want to stop there. Just want you to understand this. We are covering biblical counseling. That is our goal. I believe it is the best way to minister to someone in a counseling ministry, biblical counseling. We're going to talk about in week 1 the differences between Christian counseling and biblical counseling. Okay, so I'll make sure to do that. But what we're doing is we're going to share the history of counseling in general. And at times we will differ. We will contrast between biblical counseling and other methodologies, and why biblical counseling is superior. The student is going to gain a biblical worldview to better understand the benefits and the appropriate uses of biblical counseling in the context of ministry. And that is the overarching goal of the course. I really want you to leave this course being able to apply biblical counseling to your ministry. I want you to be able to walk away feeling competent to counsel. I want you to be confident in sharing with others and listening to others. I want you to understand why we use the Bible as the primary source for which we counsel other individuals. So that's our description for the course. We're going to talk about some objectives now. We want all people to understand their need for redemptive ministry. Everyone is in need of the gospel. And so this whole course is designed to point people back to Jesus. Every conversation that you're going to have, every session that you're going to have, every family, every individual that you're going to meet is in need of Christ. Okay, so redemptive ministry is the goal. So when we talk about the history of the Bible in biblical counseling, we're going back to the gospel. When we talk about our need for counseling, we're going back to the gospel. When we talk about the books that we use and the resources that we use to help build our worldview, we're going to go back to the gospel. So when we talk about different methodologies of counseling and tips in counseling, we're going back to the redemptive ministry of the gospel. I want you to have a knowledge and understanding of the history of biblical counseling. I want you to learn and better understand the theology behind biblical counseling. I want you to acquire the skills necessary to competently counsel others in diverse circumstances. We're going to talk about the different methodologies of counseling. And then I would love for you to acquire a library of Christian counseling resources that are available as needed. Okay, so that's the overview of the course. That's the objectives of this course. I want you to take a look now at your textbooks. There are three. Remember, this is a 401, 402 course. Okay, so we're going to be using a couple of these books 2 times over. All right, so where you have 3 textbooks this quarter, you'll have 3 next quarter, but it's not going to be 3 different books both quarters around. So you're not going to have to read through 3 books. All right, actually, you're going to be reading about 1 and 1.5 or 1 and 3/4 books, but 2 of them you will use this quarter and into the next quarter. Our primary text next to the Word of God, okay, next to God's Word, is going to be Heath Lambert's A Theology of Biblical Counseling. A Theology of Biblical Counseling. I have no idea why my syllabus keeps reading Christian counseling, but A Theology of Biblical Counseling is the Heath Lambert text that we're going to use. This book is worth its weight. Everything that you paid for it, you want this on your shelf. You want to be able to go back to this as a resource. It is an excellent read. Heath Lambert leads the way now in biblical counseling. What Jay Adams used to be is now Heath Lambert, and he has an extensive resume. Very qualified to be our textbook for the quarter. Hope that you're going to enjoy it. We're going to be reading most of the chapters throughout the next 2 quarters. Some we will go back over, like we'll do twice over. But it is our primary means of text and discussion for the course. There's also this next book called Side by Side by Ed Welch. Ed Welch and Heath Lambert do a lot of work together, a lot of ministry together. This is an excellent, easy read. This is a book that's all about walking with others in wisdom and love. I know that you can have a theology for biblical counseling, but also this book is going to teach you and encourage you in those conversations that you have, how to listen to others, how to listen well, how to love them well, understanding that our hearts are incredibly busy, and when hard circumstances meet busy hearts, it has an impact. And so we're going to talk about the contents of this book through. You will enjoy this read. I think of the 3 books, this is the one that you'll enjoy the most. Side by Side, Ed Welch. And then there's this book. This is the most polarizing book in all of Fruitland Baptist Bible College. I believe that you either love it or you hate it, but it is a classic. It's Martin Lloyd-Jones, Spiritual Depression, Its Causes and Its Cures. Now, what Spiritual Depression is a book that summarizes, some 22, I think it's 22 sermons that Lloyd-Jones preached in his ministry. And yes, it's actually 21 messages, 21 sermons in written form. And they all deal with the center theme of Christian joy and how spiritual depression should not be a characteristic of a believer in Jesus Christ. And so what Lloyd-Jones was, he was a pioneer for the discussion of spiritual depression or depression in Christian circles. He addresses it biblically, practically. These are sermons. Sometimes it's hard to get through. It is a sermon that you're reading. I personally, you're going to have to be able to find the meat that's in this book, okay? And it's good stuff. This is good stuff. However, it's not an easy read. It's not a leisure read, okay? But it's going to be very important for your thinking. It's going to be very important for your writing, and it's also practical. Okay, practical for ministry. Lloyd-Jones still speaks into our hearts today. What he's going to do is he's going to lay the causes that have robbed many Christians of spiritual vitality, but also points the way to the cure that is found through the mind and spirit of Christ. So these are our 3 textbooks. You've got Lambert, Biblical Counseling, Theology of Biblical Counseling. You've got Welch's Side by Side, and you've got Martin Lloyd-Jones' Spiritual Depression, Its Causes and Its Cures. Let's give you an overview of what we're going to be talking about these next 10 weeks. So let's talk about the course outline. First, there's going to be an introduction to biblical counseling. That's what we're going to start with. I'm going to share with you the history of biblical counseling. I'm going to share with you how sin has impacted our very lives, our very beings. And that paves the way for the reason that we need counseling. So the first week, we're just introducing biblical counseling. We're giving key definitions, key terms for what biblical counseling is. We're going to talk about the theology behind biblical counseling there, all in Scripture, all rooted in Scripture. And then at the end of that course or that class, and laying the foundation for biblical counseling, you're going to take a self-assessment. And that self-assessment is going to kind of gauge where you are in terms of readiness to counsel. No one was going to be completely ready just to start the quarter. No one's going to be completely ready. So that's why we do the self-assessment. You see that you have a need for counseling. That builds into the next week. We're going to spend a couple of weeks talking about how we all need counseling. Then we're going to talk about the theology of biblical counseling. So we're going to talk about Scripture and biblical counseling, sin and biblical counseling, God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit, and their roles in biblical counseling. We're going to talk about essentials and ethics. These are things you must do. These are things you must not do. These are things you should have ready in your office. This is the way that appointments should work. These are the things that you have liberty to talk about, some things that you're going to want permission to talk about. We're going to talk about having a rider or waiver form when you give counseling. We're going to talk about schedule of counseling. All those things are going to be in essentials and ethics. Week 8, we're going to talk about building a library of counseling resources. That course or that class is just having a knowledge of what's available to you in the world of biblical counseling. And then we're going to go ahead and bridge into 402, our last week together, week 9, before we take our final. We're going to talk about the needs that people have. So that's going to be an overview of hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Now, I've used Celebrate Recovery, that ministry near and dear to my heart, as we used it in Western North Carolina. It's been going on now for the better part of 7 years there. Hurts, hang-ups, and habits are the overview of what people are going through and why they need more counsel. And so just getting a basic definition of what those are, understanding what they are, is going to bridge us well into the 402 quarter. All right, but first we got to get through the 401 quarter. So here's some requirements for the course. As you know, your participation matters so much. We need you to do your best to complete and participate in all the reading, the assignments, the quizzes, the tests, the papers. Okay, this all comes together to make up a grade, your participation, but it also it's going to help you to get the most out of this course. And so I'm not giving you quizzes to make your life miserable. I'm not giving you tests to make you miserable. I'm not assigning papers and assignments that we have through the week, those discussion assignments. They are for your good. They're for your growth, but also for the glory of God. So attendance is a big deal to me. I want you to be engaged with the class. Our class officially begins on September 27th. Attendance is noted in this way. Every week you're going to have a discussion forum or a personal reflection opportunity. Okay, it's going to be due by the Friday of every week. All right, that initial post. So your attendance and participation is reflected by your being a part of those discussion forums. So here's how they work. Personal reflections. Every week you're going to be given some subjective questions that will reflect upon the lesson's content, but also the reading that you have. You're going to be asked to record and discuss your findings from the week's reading and assignments in a discussion forum on our Moodle platform. Every student is expected to complete a personal reflection in preparation for class the following week. Your initial post for every week, so this is week 1, and week 1 you're going to want to make sure that you finish that personal reflection by Friday of every week. So you've got Tuesday, you've got Wednesday, you've got Thursday, you've got all of Friday to make that post. Just as long as it's posted by Friday. It could be 11:58 on Friday night and you make that post, but make sure you do it. It's just a couple hundred words. No big deal. Okay, I promise you, no big deal. If you think it's a big deal, then step into my shoes for a moment and understand I've got a 42-page paper that's going to be due October 31st. 200 words, man. That's so easy, so easy. 200, 300 words. Make your initial post. Answer the questions. There's going to be 3 or 4 questions each week. I just want to see that you're interacting with your textbooks. I want to see that you're growing, that you're absorbing the information, but also that you're able to share what you're learning from. So those are due on Friday of every week. You're going to want to respond to 2 classmates by Monday the following week. So you make your initial post on Friday. Come that Monday, I'm going to want you to make sure that you give response to other classmates and what they found in the text. Just 100 words, okay, 150 words. Your responses need to be academic and they need to be interactive. Okay, when I say academic, I mean like don't just post. Let's say Sally post. Her personal reflection on side by side this week, and she says, God spoke to my heart in this way. I'm really struggling with such and such sin, or my family's going through this. This really spoke to me. I haven't been discipled. I mean, all kinds of things that she might put. Don't go on there and say, yeah, I agree. Or don't go on there and say, good post, Sally. Make sure that you're thoughtful, okay, in your response. Agree or disagree with the individual. Be tactful, be respectful, be godly in your response. But the goal of the personal reflections is for a discussion. Okay, so ask questions or make comments that will feed to more discussion. All right, so personal reflections, Friday each week, you're making your initial post. Monday, you're responding to your 2 classmates. If somebody responds to you, make sure you respond to them. All right, next thing, you're going to have a spiritual depression paper that's going to be due come week 8 in this quarter. Now, you're going to be reading Martin Lloyd-Jones' book, Spiritual Depression. Okay, you're going to be reading through that textbook, and throughout that week, throughout this quarter, there's going to be different topics that he focuses in on. If you'll take a look at the table of contents in his book, there's a lot there. All of them deal with spiritual depression. Every single one of them do. He's going to talk about the real foundation behind our depression. He's going to talk about the mind, the heart, the will. There's one that's called That One Sin. I've read a lot of papers on that one sin that focuses in on how one hang up, one major sin, one secretive sin, one sin that that just people deal with that just draws them into depression, whether that's addiction, whether that's abuse, whether that's the past. There's feelings, labors in the vineyard. There's a chapter on faith. God's Gymnasium is one of my favorites, okay? In God's Gymnasium. I'm just saying there's a lot of topics here. You're going to want to choose one, okay? You're going to want to choose one topic in this book that deals with spiritual depression, and you're going to write a 6 to 8 page paper, theological, scholarly research paper on one of those topics, okay? Here's what I don't want you to do. This is not a review of Lloyd-Jones' work. Lloyd-Jones is one of your sources. Of course, he's the one who planted the thought, the seed thought for this paper. However, you're building a paper off of one of the topics of Lloyd-Jones' sermons or Lloyd-Jones' works. Okay, you're taking the topic and you're running with it. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to build a paper that focuses in on one of these topics in spiritual depression, and you're going to write a theological scholarly paper that addresses that specific topic. Your paper is going to need an introduction. Your paper is going to need a thesis statement. A thesis statement is what this paper is about, what this report is about. What your thesis statement is going to be the summarizing purpose statement behind your paper, your conclusion, what you're going after. You're going to have clear points that support your thesis statement, and then a solid conclusion. So just by way of example, let's say that you write a paper on chastening. Okay, how God's chastening could lead to, if you don't have a biblical perspective on God's chastening, how that might risk spiritual depression. You're going to want to talk about the goal of chastening. You're going to talk about why God chastens His children. You're going to talk about how if it's not properly gauged, you could actually mistake. You could actually mistake God's chastening for condemnation. What you see what I'm doing here? I'm just wanting you to see how God's chase. I want you I want you to communicate to your, to your peers. God's chastening is for the glory of God. It's also for our spiritual growth. It can lead to spiritual depression. It could lead to spiritual depression. However, that is not the overall goal. And here's why. God's chastening is A, B, C. Okay, you're wanting to have some strong supportive points to support your thesis statement. Whether you're for God's chastening or against it, I need to know that. The paper is supposed to be 6 to 8 pages, double spaced, okay, 12 font, Times New Roman, okay, don't be cheating. Using Turabian, you're using Turabian 9th edition for the format. You're going to need to use 4 sources with footnotes, 4 sources that will support your research to be included in a bibliography. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you write. I want you to write a theological research paper. As you're finishing up Fruitland, if you're in the 400 quarter, you should know how to write a research paper. You're going to have to write many of them as you advance in your studies. So to help you out, I've given you a sample paper in Turabian format from Liberty University. It gives you the format of what it should look like. Don't use the paper as a guide. I don't even know what the paper's about, but it just gives you a view of what a Turabian styled paper looks like. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to grade these papers with a pretty heavy hand. I want you to be a good writer. We oftentimes write like we talk. So I'm looking for you to be scholarly in your writing. Be careful of using the first person in your paper, making sure that it is indeed a scholarly paper. You're going to want to refer to yourself as the author. You're going to want to write in the present tense. You're going to want to make sure that your paper is progressive, that you're getting to an overall goal, and that you're always going back to your thesis statement. Why am I writing this paper? What is this paper about? These points line up with my thesis statement. So there you have it. Spiritual depression paper, 6 to 8 pages. It's going to be due week 8 of class. All right. Quizzes. Every even week of the course, 2, 4, 6, 8. You're going to have a quiz. The quiz is going to be based off of your reading, your notes, thoughts from previous quizzes. The quizzes are going to be offered those even weeks. Simple quizzes. Anybody that's ever taken a class with me knows that I'm not trying to trick you with your quiz. Okay, I just want to see that you're learning. I want to see that you're picking up what we're putting down each week. All right, you're going to have 2 exams, final and a midterm. They're going to be given on weeks 5 and week 10. Okay, again, got to have grades for the course. So midterm, final puts all of those quizzes together, puts all of our class notes together, all of our reading together, where we are in the quarter, and puts them into one big test. All right. There's also going to be 2 times in this quarter where we get to come together for a Zoom conference. Now, these are optional. Okay, when I say optional, I mean that they're not required. However, these opportunities are highly encouraged because it gives me a chance as the professor to interact with you, the student. I like the online format. I'm certainly thankful for the online format. This is able to connect us from week to week, course to course. But I do love the interaction. I love to be able to hear from the students and get to know the students that we have, and just type into each other through the week. I'd like to see more. I'd like to do more. So what I'll do is I offer 2 Zoom classes, week 4 and week 10. Okay, that's that weeks 4 and week 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to gather together on Zoom. I'll send you a link for about 40 minutes. We're going to talk about various biblical counseling topics, articles, but mainly I want to answer any questions that you might have about the course. Wide open opportunity for us to do that, to interact together, to pray together, to encourage each other. I'm probably going to use side by side heavily for our first one, just because there's opportunities for us to talk together. There's a chapter on saying help to the Lord that I really want us to read together and to share together. So I'm just saying it's an open opportunity for us to communicate. It's not required, like I said. If you can make it, that's great. It'll be 11:15 on those mornings. We're going to conclude by noon. I realize that you probably have worked through the week. If you're serving in a church, understand that, but do your best to attend these Zoom conferences. Again, they're not required. They're not going to be factored in your grading. However, they're highly encouraged. I really want to make time to meet you and to talk with you. Also, grading. You see the layout. It's not a very top-heavy course. The spiritual depression paper has a little more weight because of all the time that you're going to commit into writing that paper. But you see the exams and midterms, they're even. Quizzes are just 10%. Those discussion forums and reflections are also a major part. I believe that my addition is right, 20, 40, 60, 70, yep, 100% for the grade. You see our grading scale, only at Fruitland Baptist Bible College do you have a grading scale like that. In doctoral work, it's very similar, but Fruitland's got a really, really strict grading scale. So our goal obviously is for A's. We would love to see that. But remember, we're here to learn. We're here to grow. The grade, while is important, it's not as important as you sitting at the feet of Jesus and let's learning together. All right, so I've got to wrap this up. I give you the course schedule. There you have it. This is everything that we're going to be doing. If you'll take a look at the course schedule, you can see that you have quite a bit of reading to do through the week. Do not fret over the reading. Do not fret over the reading. Do not fret over the reading. Okay, I'll say that again. Do not fret over the reading. Do what you can. Okay, read. Try to discipline yourself to get these chapters in. Just know that your discussion forums are going to cover some of these chapters. Know that our class content is going to. We are not a course that says read these books and we never go to them. We're using the books in our course. Be encouraged with that. Okay. But you have a layout of how the course works all the way through week 10 for your final exam and class evaluation. So there you have it. There's our syllabus. I do want to leave this quote from Robert Kalem that says, "How do people change? Not through our own power, but through tapping into Christ's resurrection power that has already changed us and is always available to us." That's how people change. The gospel changes lives. Jesus changes lives. I want more than anything for this course to reflect how Jesus can change someone's life, how Jesus can change someone's story, someone's heart, someone's family, someone's circumstance. So it's going to be an awesome quarter together. I'm here to help you. I'm here to walk with you through it. I'm not a robot. Okay, I'm a real person that wants to have interaction with you from week to week. Please make sure that you reach out anytime that you have any questions whatsoever. I want to be there for you. God bless you all. It's going to be a great quarter together. I look forward to learning with you. See you week 1. Take care.